Well, it's a gorgeous day. Very wet, very muddy, as you can tell. Beautiful day just the same. And I have a couple of trees that I want to remove from here. Questionable quality. This one right here, if you look at the root, it's pretty damaged down there. I don't really know how solid a tree that's going to be. So there's really no sense in having it take up canopy, but it might be a good log. I was thinking of kind of setting it down that way. I want to see what kind of saplings we have here. I don't want to get the good new maple coming out if I can help it. Sometimes you just can't avoid it. But like we have this type of tree, which is ironwood. I really don't care. Avoid this one right here. If I can, I'll take out some of those little trees just to give it a place to fall. Break the top down. And this one right here, if you look at it, you can tell it's been tapped. So I figure I'll take that one, drop it right down into the swamp. Now we did this one here with that 572, and I have the 585 and the 572 today. I think I'm going to start with the 572 and see if my bucking spike modification allows me to use it as a felling saw. And since I'm on a little bit of a hillside, and that one's up on a knob, I don't think I'm going to be hurt with the full wrap handle. I think I'll get plenty low enough in order to get all the log that I want. So I don't think that's going to be a limitation on these particular trees. And but if I have a hard time, I'm going right to the 585 because I know I can fell with that saw. In terms of other changes, I'm going to swap this thing around. I got a new helmet a while back. I did a video on that, and it's working pretty well. It really is. The thing I had to learn is on this chin strap right here is to get the straps to go over your ears, basically the Y to go outside your ears, and then put the earmuffs on first. Now the other thing I had bought and have been using the last couple of times out are chainsaw pants from Forester. I don't know if that's going to show them, but they are very, very, very comfortable. And I happen to like that concept instead of having to fight with the chaps, especially when it's slippery and muddy and all that. I'm gonna switch this camera right around again. So yeah, $100. Basically, they're chaps that you wear versus chaps that you strap on. Got nice deep pockets. One of the things I like about the pockets, I can't really show on camera, is the actual bag part inside the pocket is pretty big. So I can put in a wedge or something like that. It'll be fine. And I use suspenders to hold them up my fat body. But what I can tell you is they're very, very comfortable. It has made it quite a bit easier for me to get around. You know, those chaps would sort of bind a little bit because they were strapped on your leg, strapped on your hip, and they would move a little bit, and they would limit my motion. Plus they were snagging on the inside of the tractor when I was trying to get in and out. And that was a dangerous situation. I had to find a way around. And the saw pants are that solution. So, helmet, saw pants, those are new. And bucking spike modification on that saw because I was too lazy to do the muffler right. We'll fix that over time. I'm not really liking the setup right now. The last time I used it, it was okay. But the kind of things that I sacrificed for that full handle kit are like the side covers with the captured nuts. I really prefer those over these here. And yet again, that sticks out, so it hurts me a little bit on cutting stumps close. Today it's not going to be much of a factor. And when I had the spike out to here, that geometry tend to want to bind up the chain a little bit. And I tried to explain that in one of the videos. It has to do with the leverage the bucking spike has on the saw and the chain. When the place you cut's back in here, and you need those big bucking spikes if you're out west and you're cutting out in here somewhere. You need that leverage in order to get enough force to do anything. So I understand why, but with the tree 20 inches, 24 inches, it's not going to hurt you. But when you get down into the 15 to 18 inch trees, it's just going to bind up, because now the cutting force is right in here, not out in here where you need the leverage. And so I cut this back about a 1/2 inch, and you would be surprised. I guess you wouldn't if you laid it out on a piece of paper and figured out the distance, basically the mowing arm, the lever arm, about the sprocket. You'd see that it actually makes quite a difference. But to look at it, it still looks like a big old Western style spike. And my gamble is, by doing this, I can still hold the wood that I'm working on away from my saw and muffler, but I haven't provided a geometry situation to where that bucking spike provides too much leverage and stalls that chain. So, but before I get too far into this, I need to load these things up. Now there's another thing I want to point out between these two saws, the different series of saw, the 585, 592 versus the 572, is the long bar and the Western style full wrap handle very quickly overpower the standard springs, the anti-vibe springs. If you notice, they're kind of horizontal, they're not vertical. And the same on this one right here. You see how that spring is, where it's kind of a horizontal versus a vertical. So really it's not very stiff. You have the limiter. I don't know if you've seen on the inside of 7.2s, same as this, there's a little peg in there that goes into the plastic, which limits how much movement you have. And then the same over here, that kind of limits how much the saw moves relative to the handle. But really, that bar's got a lot of leverage over that anti-vibe system, and you can tell it very quickly runs out of travel because you very quickly overpower the stiffness of that anti-vibe system. Now, these bigger saws, this series right here, is actually much more suited to that style bar, and a lot of it has to do with the way the anti-vibe is set up, right? They got more space, it's a bigger saw, and they have the vertical mount on that spring, you know, and of course they got the horizontal over here, and but basically that anti-vibe system they have on the 585 is much more suited for a long bar. I'm going to fire up both saws, let them idle, then do a little bit of trimming some of the trees out so I can get to work. So let's start with the auto tune. All right. Let's see. type on the auto tune which one started and continued to run. But based on that performance, you know, it's a dilemma, isn't it? Which one I want to run, because the 585 right now is running better. But let me give the 572 a chance. Put the 585 away. It went pretty much where I wanted it to, and I had to adjust my cut because I was going to do a Dutchman the way I first did it. I was going to end up below, so I backed it out, moved it up, and went across, and came out okay, right? That's where a little correction, you know, didn't hurt a thing, and it broke down into the stump instead of up into the tree because I was a little higher than the actual hinge in the face cut. Well, it's idling now. Pretty much tuned itself. So now it's tuned for the higher temperature, whereas before it was a little bit rich on the bottom, so it's stall. So just a little bit of work, it's tuned up. I didn't have to do anything to the 585, it just ran. I'm gonna see if I can set my camera up over there somewhere. But the one thing I can tell you is the mod to the bucking spike worked perfectly. I don't know if you remember last time we were out here, as soon as I touched that bucking spike to the wood, it would stall that chain. And I'm gonna try to find a place to put the camera so you can see me, wedging on that. And you'll see that the bucking spike is not stalling that chain anymore. It's a huge improvement. If anything, I took too much off. I don't know if that's going to make any sense to you guys, but that one little change allowed me to wedge into that wood fairly aggressively when I need to without stalling the chain. Now there's another little detail about life with a saw that I want to show you. And at first I was a little bit skeptical that I was going to be able to deal with this, but since I can get the scrinch in around that handle, that operation is not been compromised with that full wrap. So kudos to Husky to let you get access to it. It's little stuff like that that really matters. And of course, remember that both the 585, 592, 565, and this 572 have the internal clutch, the clutch is inside, and the external sprocket. So these like little day-to-day operations of adjusting the chain or changing the barn chain, stuff like that, are easier on these saws. Now, on this saw, prior to having this goofy full wrap kit, had the capture bar nuts, and I thought that was an advantage. But anyway, let me finish this and we'll go right to that. You know what I'm tempted to do? I'm tempted just to get the 585 and put that tree down so I can honestly say I've used it for felling. There's the hinge right there. There's my face cut. Now I know it's going to pull just a little bit. And I've got my hold wood right here. So I'm going to leave most of that hinge. And I know it's going to pull just a little bit, but that's okay. And see the sap pouring out of that tree? It's that time of year, it's sap, sap time. I'm going to take a little more off the hinge, and then I'm going to cut it loose. I don't know if you noticed, but I didn't do a Humboldt, but I did cut up from the bottom so that my angle is still 75-80 degrees, but I rotated it instead of like this, I rotated it like this. All right, that went beautifully. So let's take a look at that cut right there. Use every bit of my 24-inch bar. You see, that's perfect for me. You know, it broke down instead of up. And, well, I still have to go and clean up some of that mess down there, get the saw log out of it. But a lot of hinge to make sure it goes where it's supposed to go. So now I can honestly say that I've dropped a tree with the 585, and what I can tell you is it's a nice saw to run, and I have the clearance because I don't have the big handle. It has the power that you need so far, from what I can tell, if the saw has the bar buried in the tree, like I let it sit there and idle. I don't know if you picked up on that. And then I wanted to make just a little bit more cut. Just whacked the throttle and took a little more out. Took another 1/2 inch off that hinge and lined it right up. And the other thing is, you notice that I was able to leave it in the tree idling, just like I did with the 572. Both those saws have performed well so far. That one took a little while to warm up, tune itself. But this one here is ready to go right now. Right now. But it's little things like that where I can let go of the saw, walk around the tree, look up. See, I thought that one branch, you see how it broke back? It was kind of tangled up there. I was pretty sure that that would bow a little bit. That's why I cut those trees. So I wouldn't have like a bow where it snags that branch, bends the tree, then tosses it back at me. So we were successful in that operation. That did not happen. But what I have to do now in order to get these out before I take down another tree is I have to cut that stump. I might have to cut this stump some to get the tractor back in here because I don't have the winch on. And I definitely have to cut that one. And then I can start skidding these out. And then I can take that one more and set it right down in here and pull it. And easy day, right? Might be able to get even another tree. So anyway, that's going to be fun because it's stressed pretty good. I'll probably have to use a wedge. But I have my handy dandy cookie to put the camera on, plus my handy dandy wedges in order to keep it upright. But a couple things I can tell you right now, because part of this channel is giving you feedback on the experiences. Either one of those saws work pretty good. Right now, because of the bar, the 572 is a little more useful for the stuff I have to do today. But if I had that bar on the 585, I'd put that 572 right in the truck. The 585 is it's much more powerful. You know, it's got the kind of power I like. You know, I don't have to work for it. It's down low. I have a reasonably dull chain on it. It's got some time on it, but still I was able to get through this rock hard maple, because that is hard. The other thing I can tell you is, this goofy helmet here, one of the things I like about it is because of the chin strap, it's not like going back and forth across my head. When my other helmet, I got a little sweaty on top of my head and stuff like that. It wasn't unusual because of the goofy shape of my my square head, square noggin. That thing would slide down a little bit in the front of me, would always do it. There's nothing I can do to stop it. This one doesn't do that, partly because of the strap. And these pants, I don't even know I have them on. It's like wearing a set of jeans. And that's a huge, huge thing. Not to talk about the obvious things you have to do from time to time that are a lot easier in these pants. But I would highly recommend going that route versus Chaps for, you know, firewood. I'm not sure a logger, because you have other things you get with the Chaps you can hang stuff on. But for what I'm doing here, kind of casual logging, not production, they've really added to my quality of comfort here, no doubt. So all in all, I got a bunch of happy things to say. You know, that's a long tree. I'll bet that thing is close to 60 feet long. Very long tree. But both those saws are doing their job, and that helmet's doing its job, and these saw pants are definitely adding to the quality of life here. So anyway, let me clean up some of that, get down there with a 585 and get the saw log cut, and then I'm going to come back with the 572 and cut these stumps. I feel bad. Look at all that sap, you know. Oh, I ran this one out of gas.